Hello, welcome to the Courageous Self-Care podcast. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. On the show, we talk about self-care that goes beyond bubble baths, chocolate, and wine. And the reason I say that is because we can have kind of a narrow view about what self-care is, and that can limit us from practicing it. So if we say, oh, well, I just don't go to the spa, I guess I can't do self-care. And that's so not true. We can do so much for self-care that doesn't actually take any extra time when we prioritize our own well-being, and we know that self-care is not just the external stuff, but also the internal stuff. Now, part of courageous self-care, I did a whole bunch of different values exercises to determine the core values of me and thereby of courageous self-care. And what I determined to be really important, among a couple other things, are connection and community. And I thought, well, how can I make that a reality? Like when I see clients, then it's definitely we're connecting. I do some group coaching online, so that's community, but I want to do something more. And then I had the idea during a meditation to do this Courageous Self-Care Festival where I could gather with like-minded people, have education by speakers, have a wellness marketplace with vendors, and really increase and raise people's awareness and broaden their perspective on what courageous self-care is like and can look like and what a transformation it can be. And so after 6 months of working on it, the festival is almost here. And I thought, while I was organizing it, the speakers are so good and the vendors are amazing and they're so passionate about what they do. How can I broaden the experience and share them with other people? And then I remembered, oh yeah, I have a podcast. I have a global venue for these people to be able to share their message. So lucky you get to hear from one of our vendors today. I am featuring Dixie Bennett as a guest on the show. Dixie, welcome.
Hey, Christina, thank you.
I'm so glad that you're here. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you are up to.
Well, I've got a couple of different things that are on the go. So most of the people who know me around in this area, I have a healing center called Still Point Body Works. And we kind of work with people. I have a part-time practitioner with me who's going to be joining us at the festival as well. Her name is Leslie. So we'll be showcasing some different therapies, Bowen therapy, craniosacral therapy, Reiki, some sound therapy as well. And for what I do, I help people, mostly entrepreneurs. Our body is a direct reflection where we're often stuck in our business. So I do a lot of abundance, releasing blockages that are in the body, and coaching around signature programs and that type of thing. So there's a combination of, we'll both be there sharing, a little bit about, what Still Point offers and how we can help people out.
I love that. You said so many interesting things there. So I'm curious, how did you come to have your wellness center?
Well, that's a very interesting story. So I had my previous background actually is in oil and gas, and as part of that, I used to suffer with a lot of chronic pain, and I had 3 near-death experiences between 19 and 26. So I was kind of on this inner journey path of seeking on the spiritual side of things. People told me I was stuck in an 80-year-old's body, and they didn't understand it, and I wasn't really responding to conventional therapies. So I got introduced to craniosacral therapy, and it changed my life. It turned everything around, and out of that came, I worked with a life coach, and kind of this deeper voice that wasn't really mine. Well, this insight, I guess, that came through was that I needed to have a healing center, or I wanted to have a healing center. So I kind of parked it for a little while and started thinking about what would that mean, or what would that look like, and out of that, Still Point Body Works was born.
Wow, I didn't know about the near-death experiences. That's very dramatic.
Very dramatic.
Yeah.
That's how I roll, apparently.
Yep. Sometimes we need a big wake-up call to get in line with our life path, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's a big part of, I think about much of my work and what I do. It's really been from a higher place from a higher place of service than what I ever could have thought of on my own, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the dreams we dream up on our own can be pretty small, but when we get the universe and spirit or create energy involved, it's infinite.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
So, Dixie, at the festival, you'll be sharing about your wellness center and the work that you do with entrepreneurs. So why is that important to you?
Well, I think it's important to educate people. One of the key things I always tell people, especially when we're looking at alternative therapies, so many people get stuck in conventional medicine, which I think there's a place and a time for it, absolutely, and it can be so supportive, but we also can look outside of the box a little bit, and there's so many skills, and I think that's what you're doing with the Courageous Self-Care festival, is you're bringing a lot of different people that have alternative approaches, and I think that, there's so much out there to explore and experience, and I mean, we can never stop talking about it because there's just so much to share, and I think it's important to share these different modalities and let people know that there are different approaches. And we also have the choice of choosing our own healthcare team. And I've always been an advocate for that. I think it's important that we get to find people instead of being told who we have to work with. Sometimes those people aren't always in alignment with our higher and the best. They're doing the best they can, but it's not always in alignment with what we really truly need. And there's so many other modalities out there that need to be explored and discovered and experienced. So that's why I think it's important to continue sharing the message and sharing other approaches and other techniques that can help out.
Oh, I wholeheartely agree. And if I think about my own experience between my two labors of my kids, the first one we went very conventional, and it was a very challenging experience and not pleasant. Like the OBGYN said to me a week before I was due, he's like, "Whoa, someone's retaining water. Look at your face." I'm like, oh, that's not a nice thing to say to a pregnant woman. And then with our second, we chose to have midwives before they were funded. And it just felt like all the power was given back to me. My eyes were open to all of these different alternative ways of giving, just being healthy, not to mention giving birth. And it was so empowering. So I really connect with what you say about building your own wellness team rather than just giving what the traditional system provides.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, I was on that journey myself, and I kept going to fests. That's where I found people. I kept going to different festivals, and not a lot of my friends were really on this journey with me. It was very much isolated and alone. So I just kept showing up, and it was really bizarre because people kept, I first got introduced to Reiki, and I was having Reiki sessions, and this was like years ago. I kind of remember the festival. There was a regular festival that happened, and I just kind of went and checked it out, and I was just I had such a hard time grounding that I didn't even know. And people would say, "Oh, Dixie, you're so ungrounded." I'm like, okay, well, what do I do with that? So help me. But nobody gave me the tools to support myself in that. And so I just kept looking and seeking and just devouring information. And so I've been really on this self-help journey since I was 19 years old, always being curious and questioning and seeing there's got to be more available. And so I'm always being introduced to amazing modalities and different energetics and different approaches. And I just love how different people interpret things or start getting ahas or ideas, and they can shift their practice into lots of different ways. I know I certainly have. And the more I've dived into it personally, the more different gifts start to open up, and I mean, I just do a Dixie, it's like a Dixie session. It's not really even, it's not a technical term anymore, because it's just an amalgamation of everything that I've learned and acquired, and dabbling in energy work and the physiology and understanding how it all works together. So, and everybody, I think, kind of starts to create their own version of healing techniques. So I think it's cool that we can all come together and share, sharing our results and sharing how we can support people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I mentioned in the introduction, I feel like it's so valuable to broaden our idea of what self-care is. And that definitely includes a lot to do with energy and how we can have more of it without putting incredible amounts of effort into it, by partnering with healers and people who have studied it and incorporated it into their lives. So I'm really glad to have you there.
Yeah, thank you. Me too.
So shifting gears a little bit, I want to talk about courageous self-care and why those two belong together. So initially when I had the idea when the idea was given to me for courageous self-care as a download, while I was flying in an airplane across the border down to the States, I didn't really understand or know what it was, but it sounded like I wanted to get to know it. So I've spent the last couple of years really doing a lot of reflection and thinking and learning about why courage belongs with self-care. And where I'm at today is that I feel like doing anything new, whether it's going and trying a new kind of energy therapy, whether it's learning how to think differently, whether it's learning to try something new to stimulate our brains and be excited and feel fully alive, there is fear involved. Like, I just don't know what's going to happen. What if people think I'm weird? What if it doesn't work? What if? If we ask ourselves, or if we find ourselves asking what if, that usually is a sign that there is fear. And so that's where the courage comes in. Try something new, to honor ourselves, to trust our intuition, to take in opportunities that are coming towards us with an open mind and an open heart. And so that is a little, in a nutshell, what courageous self-care is and where it came from. Now, I'm curious, Dixie, what does self-care mean to you?
Well, self-care, to me, it's interesting because it's not, sometimes when I ask people, even just having a day off, it's like, what does a day off even mean to people anymore? And people are so busy that and I was just having a conversation earlier today about how busy everybody is. Like, there's no time to even process anything. And even when people are tired, they run to the next thing. They don't even choose to take a night off or just to quiet or to, just have a television night sometimes. But self-care is really learning how to listen to your body. And instead of hitting burnout and hitting the wall where you're going to crash into illness, you have to take some time out. And, if you need to go to bed early, go to bed early. If you need to have like just a day to yourself, just to regenerate, just to, be kind of quiet, be at home, still in movement, it doesn't mean that you sit down and do nothing. And it's more than just, it's nice to go get a pedicure and have somebody rub your feet and do all these things. Absolutely. It's the outside care, but it's about your daily rituals. Like, what do you do to fill yourself up? Even just, I do use sound therapy tools as well. So I was doing tuning forks earlier today, right? Just helping to balance out some of my own energy. My practitioner came in. She's like, I'm kind of feeling out of sorts today. And I said, well, just stand here and let's do some sound therapy. So it doesn't have to be a long, drawn out experience. It can just be that moment of checking in and just seeing where your alignment is. Do you feel like you're kind of out of control and feeling a little out of balance? Or, what can you do for yourself just to take that moment and settle inside yourself? Just do a couple moments of breathing, or even just close your eyes and slow your breath down. Or, just stand in the bathroom before you go out into the hallway and just do a deep breath before you open the door and walk out. Take a break and walk around your office. You can walk around the floor or go outside and walk around the block and come back in. there's lots of different things you can do that activate self-care. So it's like a mind and a body break, but something that helps you find your center. So to me, that's what self-care is.
You gave some great tips in there. And I'm curious because in your practice, I imagine you see a lot of people who are rushing from one place to the next and busy. Why do you think people let it get to that point where they just feel overwhelmed and like they're always running behind, and even if they're tired, they'll push through? What do you think is underneath that?
Well, it's a fear of missing out, I think, is one of the biggest things. And that's what I hear from a lot of people. They're just so scheduled. We live in a time where everybody, and I have these conversations all the time about being married to the clock. So it's like, oh, I've got exactly 30 minutes to get ready, to get out the door. I've got exactly, it's going to take me 20 minutes to get to work. And so, everything is so scheduled in our day that when people even land in bed, they're so exhausted, they're not even getting a good night's sleep. And so everybody is constantly in this fight or flight response system. And so they're just keep going, and they don't. So when they actually stop, it feels like when the parasympathetic system kicks in, everybody's like so heavy, and people don't really like to feel that way, but that's what groundedness feels like. And so we're more addicted to that. It feels like we're flying, and we just want to go faster, 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 and we end up tripping over our feet and landing in an uncomfortable way. So one of my good friends, one of my clients and good friends came to me the other day, and we did an amazing healing session with her, and we went really deep. And then she's sending me text messages later that day. She's like, I'm so busy today. I don't have time for this stuff. Right? And it's like, well, you can't schedule healing even. It's like your body's going to process whatever it needs to process. So she's like, remind me when I come see you next time. I can't see you on a day that I have a meeting in the night. And I can't see you on a day when I have this. So all of a sudden now there's all these rules and regulations because she's too busy that she doesn't even have time to allow herself to heal. So when is a good time? I mean, there really is no good time, right? But unfortunately, that's where the majority of people are operating. And we need to schedule more time for ourselves, even if it is lock yourself in the bathroom. I don't care. Have a bubble bath and put some good music on, but at least soak in the tub and give your body a break. It's finding those moments of just being able to pull yourself in and gather yourself instead of running around fragmented. But that's just our society. And it's unfortunate, but we need to stop the madness.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And that's why there's 12 different foundations that have revealed themselves to me for courageous self-care. And the very first one is shifting your relationship with time. I feel like people are mostly at odds with time, even at war with time, and time is an energy. And so if we think about time as not the enemy, but as it's truly all we have, like there's more than enough time. Time will outlast us. We have all the time we need and then some. And so if we can think about it in a new perspective, it really takes us out of that rushing. Well, for me personally, and for the clients I've worked with, it takes us out of rushing and always feeling like we're perpetually behind and in a race, and into a place of very calm and centered productivity where we're not only doing things for other people, but we're doing things for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So getting back to that courageous part, I love to get guests on the show to model what it's like to go outside of that comfort zone a little bit. So to do that, the question I came up with is for you to tell a little something about yourself that we might not know about you, or that most people don't know about you. That's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah. Specifically around the courage thing, I know for me, I love to travel. I'm an avid traveler. I love to explore, and I just, for me, it's travel. I really do love getting going to a new place and just driving around, exploring, walking around, seeing what's out there. And I never used to be that way. The first time I traveled by myself, I went to Puerto Rico, and I was so scared. I didn't even leave my room. And I literally had a panic attack in the room. And part of it, I attached on this little mini private trip because I was meeting a group of friends for a friend's wedding in one of the islands. And I thought, okay, well, it's fine to travel on a plane by yourself, but I decided that I was going to test myself and really see if this, really extend my independence and travel on my own. And it was so interesting because it took me forever to get out of the room. And I was so nervous. I literally laid on the bed and I was in a sweat. And I kept doing inner talk and just, at the time I didn't know that's what I was doing. But I just kept talking to myself and coaxing myself just to open the door and just to go outside. Because when I arrived, it was dark and nighttime. So I didn't even know what the place looked like yet. And I was in Old San Juan, which is a really beautiful area. And I finally got outside and I started walking, it was just like a beautiful cobblestone streets and whatever, and it was fine. And then I went to the next street and then I went to the spot, I just kept pushing myself just outside just a little bit more and a little bit more. And then what was interesting is all these men kept coming up to me and saying, "Where's your husband? Where's your companion?" And I'm like, "I don't have one. I'm here by myself." "Oh, no, you shouldn't. I'll wait with you until your husband shows up." Oh. And I'm like, "No, I'm fine." And I went to the restaurant and the guy felt so bad for me. He's like, "Well, I'll just sit with you while you eat your lunch." I'm like, "No, I'm fine." So it was kind of interesting looking back on that first travel experience on my own where people were supporting me even in that. So I think that's always what we have to kind of come back to, is whenever we extend our comfort zones and kind of step outside the box a little bit. And it's just baby steps sometimes. It doesn't have to be the full-on plunge. But we're always divinely supported by whatever decisions that we choose to make. And I think there's always people there supporting us, both in the seen world and the unseen world. So
that's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. I love it. And it's a great example of just how challenging it can be sometimes to stretch our comfort zone and travel. For me, it always does that. There's a lot of unknowns in travel.
Yeah, there is, but I love every part of it. And it's that there's a lot of freedom in that. And I've seen a lot of really cool things. I've been to the Middle East, I've been to Europe, I've been to lots of different Caribbean islands, I've been to the States, I've been across Canada. There's lots of really amazing places that if we get tied into the box of what is perceived as safe, we miss out on a lot. And there's so much to experience and see.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So Dixie, I'm sure people are curious about these different healing modalities, and if they're in Calgary, they may not have heard of you before. So where can people connect with you?
So you can connect with us at stillpointbodyworks.ca. So that's stillpointbodyworks.ca is our website. And you can also connect with us on social media. You can connect with myself on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So that's, I have the handle I am Dixie Bennett on most of those. And then I might be jumping the gun here a little bit, but my free gift, if you go to my website, I do have a free gift there that you can download. So it's 5 simple steps to activate more abundance in your life. And I'm a huge proponent that I do believe our body is a direct reflection of where we're stuck in our relationships, our life, and our business. And energy plays a big part of that. So, just tapping into some different abundance pieces to attract more abundance in your life. So you can get that download, and there's 7 different informative emails that are in behind there that gives you a bit more information besides the free ebook download too. So yeah.
That sounds very juicy. Thank you.
Thank you.
So is that what you're sharing in the swag bags too?
Well, in the swag bags, we put magnets. So just some magnets that you can put up on your fridge that just says, has a beautiful image. Because nature is my playground, and nature is where I do much of my healing. So it's just a beautiful nature picture that has, take your life back, and just a nice little our information on it.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'll just explain a little bit what I'm talking about here with the swag bags. If you are in Calgary and you're available on Saturday, November 17th, the day of the festival, that's when it's happening. It's at Mount Royal University in Rossglen Hall, and it is going to be spectacular. There are going to be speakers. There's a wellness marketplace. You'll get a wellness passport where you go and connect and interact with the vendors in a really deep and meaningful way. There are prizes galore, and there are also these swag bags. And my vision for the swag bags was when people reach into the bag and pull something out, they would be absolutely delighted and pleased at what they're getting. And so I appreciate you putting those magnets in there. I love magnets. I have a thing for magnets. And so I think that's a great idea. Thank you for contributing those.
Awesome.
So Dixie, thank you so much for taking the time to connect here and share your stories and your passion and your energy. I really appreciate you doing that.
Thank you. I'm excited for this too. And it's nice to connect with you as well.
Absolutely. And so just to wrap things up, if you are one of our listeners from somewhere else in the world, I'm sorry. I guess you're not going to make it to the Real Life Festival, but at least you got to hear this interview. And if you are here, I would love to make it easy for you to come. And so as a gift for listening to this episode, I would love to offer you a complimentary ticket, which is available at selfcareticket.com. The link is in the description for this podcast. We would love to see you there and meet you in real person, in real life, in person. Look into your eyes, give you a hug, share a smile, and open your eyes to new ideas. And the great thing about a new idea is that that's really the only thing that can change your life, is getting a new idea and taking action on it. So we would love to see you there. All right, and I look forward to connecting with you again next time. Thanks for listening, and bye-bye for now.